Hello, everyone, and good morning again. My name is Lauren Williams, and I'm here from Team Y&R. We are a communications group of agencies that's working with the 2020 census on communications, events, marketing, social media, and of course, reaching out to members of the media like you. So we are excited to be here today. We are less than 1 month away from invitations being in mailboxes across the country and here in Washington, D.C., and we just want to talk about what that means. We want to talk about what you can expect to see, and we want to talk about how you can inform your readers and your viewers about what is happening with the 2020 census. So thank you again for joining me today. And so since we have so many things happening right now, there's no better time to talk about it, and there's no better people to discuss these issues than those that are sitting to my left. And so I am going to introduce them one by one. I'll just ask that they wave their hand a little bit when I say a couple of bullet points about them, and then we'll get started with the rest of the presentation today. So immediately to my left, we have Michael C. Cook, Sr. He is the chief of the Public Information Office at the Census Bureau. I don't want to put some arrows around him, but if you have questions about the media, it's him right here. He deals with this every day, every census, every survey, all of the other things that the Census Bureau does. Michael Cook is responsible for communicating with the media about that, and he has a lot of insight in doing that as well. He leads editorial services, graphics, history programs, media relations, like I was just discussing, and more. So thank you, Michael, for being here today. To his left, we have Dale Kelly. Dale is the chief of the field division of the U.S. Census Bureau. So when you think about the census, most people think about folks knocking on their doors. Those people are managed and operated through Dale's division. So we have census takers out, we have area census managers, we have other folks checking addresses. She'll talk about all of that, but there's a whole field, there's a whole group of people in regions across the country working to make sure we have an accurate and complete count. And all of those people are under Dale's division. So we're excited to have her here today to talk about a little bit more of that implementation, and we'll hear from her later. And next to Dale, we have Kendall Johnson. Kendall is the executive director of the 2020 Census Integrated Communications Contract. And so I was saying earlier, I don't know how she sleeps at night, especially right now in the middle of such a huge undertaking and operations, but all of the ads, the beautiful ads that you're seeing out, all of our communications, materials, marketing, billboards, all of those things in ways that we're communicating to the public, Kendall is responsible for and has been talking about that with different groups and working on research and working with Team Y&R and other folks. So she'll talk a little bit about that communications contract and some other things that you'll see. And next to her, we have Austin Patrick, who is a strategist with Team Y&R. So as we talk about that integrated communications contract and marketing and outreach, specific outreach to the Black and African American community is of course very important to us and very important to everyone in this room. And so we'll be talking a little bit more about the insights and research that went into those marketing materials. You see some beautiful examples to your left that Austin will be talking about. So we'll go into the research and how we did what we did and why we did those things. Austin is the expert on those topics. And to his left, we have Melissa Bird. Melissa is the executive director of the DC Census 2020. And next to her, we have Camille Exum, who is an active member of the Prince George's County Complete Count Committee. And so when we talk about the 2020 census, we have to talk about pulling other people, engaging partners, organizations, and these two women are wonderful examples of what we're doing here locally and how we're replicating that across the country. So we're excited to hear from them and about some of their efforts here and just what we're all doing again for a complete count.
Thanks for having us here. I'm humbled and also honored to be in this historic place. When you think about all of the U.S. colored troops who helped shape my future, we're here today to talk about the 2020 census and the place that you can play in history in shaping the future of the Black and African American community. Before I begin, I wanted to acknowledge we have with us Ashley Emerson. She's the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office on African American Affairs. Thank you for being here, Ashley. I'd like to first just walk you through, knowing that some of you, I recognize some of the faces. You've covered us in the past, and some of them are new. I wanted to level set for all of us where we are in our campaign to count everyone once and only once and in the right place. So the decennial census, as you know, it is a massive multi-billion-dollar operation with significant implications for every community. And one thing that you will note when you leave today, not only is America, the country, very diverse, but our campaign is very diverse. And it's structured that way to make sure that it reaches everyone. And when we talk about reaching everyone, I'm going to walk you through what we mean when we say counting everybody once and only once and in the right place. In order to do that, we have to first establish where we're going to count individuals. So when you think of the census, we don't necessarily know where people are, but we know where all the housing establishments are. So we established the master address file, which establishes a baseline or a grid of where to count people. And now we're in the throes of the Integrated Communications Campaign, motivating people to respond. On March 12th, invitations, 9 days from today, invitations for the 2020 census will start hitting mailboxes, and people will be encouraged to respond online or by phone. We have a non-response follow-up operation that will take place for people who do not respond or self-respond, where we have individuals who will canvass the country, knocking on doors and asking people to respond, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later. And then always, when we collect the information, we know that we talk about the census as not necessarily a government program that is done to you, but the census is yours. It's something that everybody participates in. And why do people participate? They participate so that we can return the valuable data, information to people so they can make informed decisions. And the Census Bureau is safe, it's easy, and it's important. When we talk about safe, we're talking about the safeguards that we take to ensure that the responses are kept confidential and they aren't shared with anyone. No other law enforcement agencies, including local police. All Census Bureau employees take a lifetime oath to not disclose that personally identifiable information. And you'll see there that there are penalties for that, up to $250,000 and up to 5 years in prison. And also, we have taken special safeguards when it comes to our online responses. I will note, though, for reporters who are new to this, that this is not the first time that we've ever collected information online. With the American Community Survey, we've had 20 years in the game of collecting information online. And with the decennial, back in 2000, we actually had a breadcrumb that we left on our website to see if anybody would hit it. And we had upwards of 86,000 people who responded online in 2000. But looking at the fact that the 2020 census is easy, in mid-March, in 9 days, everyone will start receiving invitations in the mail. And those of you who are looking at our operational press line know that it's March 12th through the 20th. And so once those invitations come to those mailboxes, people will be responded or be given information on how to go online or to fill it out by phone. A toll-free hotline will also be available to assist those needing language assistance. And we'll get into all of the languages available a little bit later. It's important. We all know that the 2020 census or the decennial census every decade is about power and it's about money. When we talk about power, it's about congressional representation, legislative boundaries that are redrawn, business decisions that are made when it comes to investing, jobs and services. Those public funds that trickle down to the local communities. We have estimated that more than $675 billion every year in federal funds actually flows down to local levels. There's been others who have gauged it as high as trillions and trillions of dollars. So the community services, social services that are made affordable and the programs that are used behind our statistics are invaluable. The Medicare, health insurance, Medicaid, SNAP, highway planning, construction, Pell Grants, housing assistance. Oftentimes when we traverse the country and talk to reporters, reporters want to know, what's behind the numbers, and people want to know, how does this affect me? I think it's safe to say that when you look at this list, there's no community within the Black or African-American community that's not touched and that can benefit from these programs and funding. The timeline itself, the count, as you know, as we call it, has already started. Back in January 21st to be exact, we started in remote Alaska, and there's a picture of our director. He was up in Tuxuk Bay, Alaska. He actually did the first count of the first person that was enumerated, January 21st. That count is continuing and ongoing through April 30th. Update leave has begun in certain parts of the country that do not have traditional mailboxes, March 16th through the 17th, April 17th. And then the internet self-response opens up on March 12th. April 2nd through June 5th is group quarters enumeration, and we'll get into that a little bit more. That's about people who are living in groups. So picture college dorms, jails, those that are in nursing homes and things of that nature. Census Day is April 1, and Census Day, for those of you who are covering the census for the first time, is a reference point. When people fill out the census form, regardless of when you respond, you should fill it out keeping in mind a snapshot of what your house looks like on April 1. And then May 13th through July 24th is our non-response follow-up. Of course, December 31st is our deadline to deliver our apportionment counts to the Congress and to the President. And then April 1st of 2021 is when that redistricting data, that block level data, will be delivered to states so that they can do their important task of redistricting, legislative boundaries, school districts, and so forth and so on. So I'll stop right here and turn it over to Dale Kelly, who's the chief of our field division, who has control and command over the many, many thousands of individuals that are across the country, locally, that are coming into contact with people at the local level. Dale?
Thank you. Thank you and good morning. So, I am certainly proud to be here on behalf of the Census Bureau. And you're going to hear me reiterate some of the points that Michael has already made and expand on them a little bit. But right now, I want to let you know what to expect as we start to collect data, and since we're quickly approaching the response phase or self-response phase of our operation. So I'll jump right into the presentation. So how will we invite everyone to respond? Well, as Michael mentioned, next week, households across the country will start receiving our invitation to respond to the 2020 census. Now, most of the households, or 95% in the country, just like here in Washington, D.C., will get their census invitations by mail. Then approximately 5% will be part of an operation that we refer to as update leave, which takes place in areas with rural routes, locations where households receive their mail via post office boxes, and areas recently affected by natural disasters. And then less than 1% across the country will be counted in person. And you heard Michael mention remote Alaska. So these areas are remote Alaska, where we started on January the 21st, rural Maine, and then selected American Indian areas. So what to expect in the mail? The invitation will go out in the form of a letter, which will include instructions for responding online, and a phone number to call if someone needs help, or perhaps the person prefers to give their responses over the phone. Our call center will be there to collect that information. Of course, there will be segments of the population who will receive the questionnaire as well as the invitation to respond online in the very first mailing. Now, we understand that some folks will need a few reminders before they actually respond. So throughout the months of March and April, we will continue to send invitations to households that have not responded. And then by our fourth mailing, which is the April 8th through the April 16th timeframe, we will send reminder letters and a questionnaire to every household that has not responded. so that by the end of April, early May, those households that have not responded by internet, by phone, or using the questionnaire that we mailed, a census taker we'll send our census takers out to visit and to collect that information, or at least offer assistance in filling out the online form. So I want to spend a little time talking about the questionnaire, and you do have a copy of the questionnaire in your press kits. So the questionnaire contains only a few simple questions, such as the number of people in the household, about each person living in the household, as well as their relationship to the person who identifies himself or herself as person one. And that's just a few. These questions allow the Census Bureau to develop data about families, households, as well as other groups. And let me just say right now, so that we are clear, there is no question on the form related to citizenship. Self-identification of race and origin. So the self-identification question reflects the most recent revisions to the standards for the classification of federal data on race and ethnicity. So we asked respondents to respond or answer both the question about Hispanic origin and the question about race. And origin can be viewed as the heritage, nationality, lineage, or the country of birth. And since 2000, the census questionnaire has allowed individuals to self-identify with more than one race. Respondents are then directed to mark one or more of the boxes and print their origins, such as Salvadorian, German, African American, Irish, or Jamaican, or more. So the responses to these questions help create statistics about the different ethnic groups. And the data collected in these questions are needed by federal agencies to monitor compliance with anti-discrimination provisions under the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. We're excited about our non-English language support because, as Michael said, we will make every effort to count everyone once and only once and in the right place. The online questionnaire is available in 13 languages, including French and Haitian Creole. Our call center will also have operators available to provide assistance in these languages. So these 13 languages represent the languages spoken in 95% of the households across the country. And then additionally, we have language assistant guides that can be found on YouTube as videos and on our website in 59 other languages. But we also provide templates on our website in which communities and organizations can create their own language assistant guide if by chance there is a need beyond the 59 that we provide. Who should be counted? It's essential that we count everyone, given responses inform how billions of dollars flow into communities each year, direct community decision-making, and provides details about our ancestry. And what an awesome place to be in. Everyone living in the United States, regardless of legal status, should be counted in the census. So we're telling everyone, the first person to count is you and where you live. And we tell them, even if we don't own the home, everyone needs to participate. Then we say, count any children, including babies that are born by April 1st, who will usually sleep or live in the home, even if they're not your own children. And these could be grandchildren, foster children. These could be babies that are still in the nursery at the hospital, but they were born by April 1st. We know that households can include families, friends, roommates, and others who may live there most of the time. And we also understand that people may be uncomfortable reporting everyone. But it's important to know that the Census Bureau does not share information with anyone, not housing authorities, landlords, or law enforcement. And we need people to be honest about who lives in their household in order to get an accurate count. But in addition to inviting households to respond, we also have specialized approaches for people who don't live in traditional households. Like Michael said, the military, college students, people who are in correctional institutions, and nursing homes, to name a few. So we work directly with the military, we work with colleges and universities, as well as facility administrators to make sure that we are accurately counting the people in these, what we call group quarters. And then we also have special operations in place where we will count people who are experiencing homelessness or living in temporary housing. So how will a census taker, or as you may hear them referred to as well as enumerators, be identified if they knock on someone's door? Well, they'll have a valid ID badge, and that badge will have their photograph. It'll have a U.S. Department of Commerce watermark, as well as an expiration date. The person will also carry a device that will contain a census logo. And then census takers will generally conduct their work between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. local time, except for where we are counting people who are experiencing homelessness and may not be staying in a facility or a shelter. These operations will require that our census takers are actually working outside of the hours of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then we are also working with our census representatives and working with our partners will be at local organizations or community events. And they'll have their computer tablets with them to help people respond online. And on these computer tablets will also be census logos so that we can tell who they are. But we want folks to know that if people are concerned about receiving a personal visit from a census taker, they certainly have the opportunity to self-respond securely and confidentially, and we'll keep saying it, online, by phone, or by mail. But I also want to note here that even during the census year, we don't stop our current year our current surveys or the collection of our current surveys. So we will have, and we refer to those folks that are out there in the fields and in the neighborhoods as, and doing our field operations as census representatives, census field representatives. So they'll also be out knocking on doors and collecting other information for the surveys that we do the other 9 years. So they too will have census bags and census ID and laptops or devices that will identify who they are. And for most of our current surveys, our respondents or the households will receive a advance notification or a letter saying that they have been selected for a certain survey and that they can expect a visit or a phone call from one of our census representatives. But I also want folks to be very aware that the census will never ask for anyone's full Social Security number, bank accounts, or passwords. And so that's part of our message, that we know that there are instances where someone else that may show up. The difference is that we know that during the census and during our surveys, this is not information that we will collect from households. And last but not least, we are certainly continuing to hire, even as we execute our data collection operations. And we know that a complete count requires grassroots efforts with local officials and respected members of all groups of our communities. We hire locally. Our staff collectively speaks hundreds of languages and are representative of their community. So we continue to invite people interested in working for the 2020 census to apply at www.2020census.gov/jobs. And my time is up, and I thank you for yours, and I'd like to invite Kendall Jackson up.
Good morning. Thank you again. I know we're all going to say thank you. This is such an amazing opportunity. We want to thank you for, first of all, allowing us to be in this space, but for you all coming out and giving us the time, because there's a lot going on today. I want to, I guess I can, in case you don't remember, I'm Kendall Johnson. So we have done a lot to make sure that the messages that we have crafted around all of the communications will educate and inspire everyone to respond to the 2020 census. We pay particular attention to those hard-to-count communities, and our communications are an absolutely critical part of the operation. This campaign is steeped in research. We have done a couple of major pieces of research. We've conducted our Census Barriers, Attitudes, and Motivators survey, as well as creative testing. And combined, we've received over 17,500 survey responses. We've conducted over 160 focus groups in 13 different languages. These were done across the United States and in Puerto Rico. So what did we learn when we did some of this research? We absolutely learned that through the Census Barriers, Attitudes, and Motivators survey, which we call CBAMS for short, that there were some knowledge gaps. People didn't understand what the census was. You know, the basic things, who, what, when, where, why. You know, we're only out every 10 years. So all this work we do to inform people about the census sort of dwindles off. So when we have to do this in 10 more years, we're back to square one. So we had to basically come up with ways to communicate this information so that people recognize that we're not just asking information because we have nothing else to do. This information informs your everyday life. We found that the barriers included fear of repercussions. You know, will my answers be used against me? Privacy concerns. Do you share my information with anyone? So how do we address that? One, we let them know that no personal information is ever shared with anyone or any other government organization, period. So it can't be used for repercussions against you. Then we also show them how the data can be used to inform the decisions that they make. Not only the decisions we all make on a daily basis, but where businesses are, where roads are paved, where bus stops go. All of that is based upon census data. Then we also found out from them what motivates them to respond. And in the end, the most overwhelming, engaging message for them was the benefits message. What's in it for me? In the end, it comes down to, I'm giving you this, what are you giving me? So we talked to them about what those benefits are, and where those benefits are now being manifested in the paid advertising that we are running. So our tagline, Shape Your Future, Start Here, that went through its own bit of research. It was a collaborative effort by all of our agencies. And let me be clear, we've got agencies for every single audience. It's not one agency doing all the work, it is multiple agencies. So your Black African American ads are created by a Black African American agency. Your Hispanic ads are created by a Hispanic agency. Your Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander ads are created by a Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander agency. So we did learn when we went out and we did our creative testing, they didn't understand where the message was coming from. They thought it was the government providing that. And yes, it is a government campaign, but the government didn't create the campaign. We specifically worked with trusted voices, trusted organizations and agencies within the community to develop the messaging and to test it. These are all the different operations or activities that fall under the communications program. We can talk more about that later if anyone's interested, but it's very clear, Statistics in Schools, this is an effort, it is actually an ongoing, evergreen effort, but it amplifies during the census. And this is to encourage students to be more involved in statistics, for STEM specifically. We've talked about research, we've talked about field recruiting, stakeholder engagement. We've got a lot of partners. We can't do this alone. It's not just the paid people on the census side, but it's also our partners, both national and local. It's our media partners. It's you all. Advertising. Advertising is a wonderful thing. You can do a lot with advertising, but you can only say so much in a 30-second ad or in a one-page ad in a newspaper. There's only so much. And Because it's only so much, we have to have our partner organizations and our partnership staff that can provide you that on-the-ground, face-to-face, in-depth information. They can talk to you and give you more details around what you hear. Advertising is the umbrella. We're the air cover, so that you know what we're talking about and that you're more interested to find more about it. So I do want to emphasize that throughout all of our advertising, we have certain messages that are woven across all audiences. We talk about confidentiality, we talk about privacy, we talk about the importance of counting every single person in your household, no matter their age. We talk about how it doesn't matter where you're from or how long you've been here. That does not matter, because we do not ask about citizenship. We just want to count everybody, because by counting everybody, those statistics can be used. We've talked about congressional representation, we've talked about funding, but the bottom line is it gets services in your communities that you need. Simple things like that little ramp on the sidewalk that allows a wheelchair to access. It's small things, but it's very large things. These are our campaign phases. We are currently in the awareness phase. This is where we're just telling people what the census is and why it's important. But on March 13th, we start the motivation phase. This is where the bulk of our advertising will run, where we're trying to encourage people to get out there, to fill out their form. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your tablet, you can do it on your laptop, you can do it on your desktop. You can call us, you can wait for a form, you can send it in. We're making it as possible for you to complete your form. We want you to do it self-response. We want you to tell us who you are. This is an opportunity. It is self-determination. Nobody tells you who you are. Nobody fills out the form for you. You have the opportunity to tell us who you are and where you are. After that, we have the reminder phase that starts around mid-May, and that's when we tell you it's not too late. You can still complete your form online or by phone, but if you need additional help, a census taker will come to your home to help you. And then finally, we'll have a thank you phase. That's when we're actually going to thank everybody for all the work that they've done. It's not just everybody who's participated, it's all the partners that have helped. Because let me be real, we could not do this without all of you all. This is just some of the a very small spattering of some of our partners. We have currently over 300,000 national and local partners. Now I'm going to turn this over to Austin Patrick, who's going to give you a little bit more in-depth information about the Black African American campaign. Thank you.
Good morning. So I'm going to follow up on what Kendall has laid out, right? She's explained the complexity of the program. I'm going to focus on the Black African American portion and give you a sense of how we're communicating, why we're communicating the way that we are. I do invite you to take a look at the wall that's been brought in with just a smattering of the work, so that you can get a feel for what it looks like on the back of the wall is actual video. So you can really listen to a range of commercials to get a feel, again, for the campaign. This is a complex program. So while I'm standing here on behalf of Team Y&R, please remember that there are, I don't even know the head count on the Team Y&R side of this, certainly scores of people that have been laser focused on the requirements for the Black African American community, and then beyond that, every community in America, just to get the campaign up and running. Insights. So again, at the highest level, these insights, the barriers, as Kendall pointed out, very, very similar across all audiences. But they resonated with African Americans and with other parts of the Black community in a certain kind of way. So things like civic duty was just didn't quite do it. We needed to have a different kind of story. There was doubt about the census even making a difference. How did the community change after the last census? You know, people wanted to have that discussion. They wanted to understand more. And of course, safety and confidentiality is always a challenge in our community across the board. But certainly in Haitian, sub-Saharan African populations, it is a really, really important consideration. So as we were developing the strategy, we needed to understand how to get around these barriers. What we found was that the key motivation for the community was, again, back to what Kendall has already discussed, is the proof points in the community, the things that will benefit you. And again, tweaked in different ways for different parts of the Black community. So for the African American community broadly, it's childcare. It's educational services. We found in the African community, sub-Saharan African communities, education was really kind of at the top of the motivation list. So we amplified the messaging there. So again, really nuanced across all of our audiences, and by researching, we were able to validate that this was the right approach. So let me share, I'm going to share two spots with you. But before I play this one, it's called For Her. A week ago today, I met my granddaughter for the first time. And I watched my son holding her, and it was an out-of-body experience for me. But the very strange part of it was the sense of dread. It's like, how is this going to work in this world today? It's like the coronavirus, it was almost too much. Are they going to have what they need? Are they going to be able to live in a society that will understand who they are? And what I realized is that all of this work that I've been doing on Census with this incredible team is part of the way that I can address that. So in a lot of ways, it was, for me, a personal validation of our strategy, which really felt good to connect in a way to the work that we're doing on behalf of a broader community. So if I can remember how to, here we go. Okay, For Her.
What time is it? My wife never gets home in time to see little man go to sleep. Her bus stop is a mile away. I wish I could at least walk home with her. I'm completing the 2020 census for my family. My response can impact how public funding is spent in my community. That could mean education for little man and a closer bus stop for her.
Shape your future. Start here. Complete the census at 2020census.gov.
This is storytelling at its best, and it resonates in the African American community in a very specific kind of way. But we tested it against other audiences as well to be certain that there was no dissonance there, because in this world, people consume media wherever, whenever. And we wanted to be sure that the messaging would work as well against a white family in suburbia as it does as a Black family in the inner city. And it was then and only then that we proceeded with final production. This last commercial that I'd like to show for you, and again, these are just two of a whole range of communications in the marketplace. Commercials in English were the only things that we produced really kind of for the broad reach. The in-language work is done via radio, digital, out-of-home, print. This tells the story of a complex family. Okay. One of the things that we discovered is that Black families they're different, right? They can be different. People of different hues, people of different ages in the household. There's a diverseness and there's a richness, and that richness wants to be captured. People want to tell their story. And so this is our way of acknowledging, recognizing, celebrating the diversity in Black households as they exist today, really as they've always existed, but bringing them into the light and giving them a sense of wanting to be a part of census participation.
According to the Howell family, Auntie Jen's friend and her son can live with them as long as they want. According to the census, it doesn't matter if you're related or not. Everyone living in your home on April 1st counts, because this count helps inform funding on how billions get spent every year. And where there are more people, there are more needs.
Complete the census online, by phone, or by mail. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov.
Well, as awesome as the advertising program is, it can't do the lift alone. It just provides the information and the encouragement. And so now I'd like to introduce Melissa Bird, who will explain the importance of partnership. Here we go.
excuse me, I don't have a presentation, but thank you for having me here this morning. I'm the Executive Director for DC Census 2020, and I'm so pleased to be able to share what we're doing here at the local level with our partners. I work closely with Director Emerson as well, and we are really excited to get this launched officially next week. I think everybody is. We've been talking about this for a long time. So for over a year now, DC Census team has been building our partnerships and our capacity across the city with advocates. Mayor Bowser, our Mayor Muriel Bowser, made a commitment very early in this process to getting a full count for DC. We started back in the fall of 2018. And the first thing she did was create this full-time position that I'm in. This is all I do is engage around census. I work on behalf of the district government across all of our agencies and our partners. We know how critical a full count is to DC. Accurate census data ensures that we've been getting about $6 billion every single year in federal dollars. And these dollars support vital programs that impact every resident in the district, but they especially impact some of our most vulnerable populations. That $6 billion is funding things such as Medicare, Medicaid, our school fundings. Our schools alone are getting close to $250 million a year in federal allocation. And that really impacts our communities through Head Start programming, school lunch and breakfast programming, Title I dollars, special education, technology for our classrooms. These have real impacts every single day in the district. Our DC State Data Center estimated that an undercount in 2010 resulted in an annual loss of $57 million every year to the district, so about $570 million between 2010 and 2020 that we lost. We know every person counts. Every person that's undercounted is money that we're leaving on the table that we are entitled to in the district. So we launched our initiative in 2018. We launched our Mayor's Complete Count Committee in May 2019, and that's 35 members representing leadership in district agencies, education, business, healthcare. It's a wide variety of representation. We have 8 additional working subcommittees, and we've brought on an additional 25 other community partners. Our approach has been twofold, and these are happening simultaneously. One was to build a recognizable citywide brand. Our slogan is "You Matter, Get Counted." As we've mentioned before, I hope you get tired of seeing our posters everywhere. We may be competing for space in some of the same locations, but we will be metro stations, buses, print, radio, TV. We have our own sort of broad citywide campaign. But I think our real success will be the other side of our campaign, which is really building that on-the-ground network. These are who we call our census ambassadors. This is the work that's kind of done behind the scenes that may not be as obvious. We know that people need more than just to see an ad on the side of a bus. It's like, who is the trusted messenger? And we have certainly looked at a lot of our focus group information. Who are the people to deliver that message? So while we launched our broad campaign, I would say our focus has always been on what we consider our historically undercounted communities. And that's essentially wards 1, 5, 7, and 8. And those are primarily African-American communities and immigrant communities. So we have put the majority of our resources, our capacity towards those efforts. But I don't take anyone for granted in the city. We want to make sure everyone is included. So again, we launched our first media phase last fall. Our new phase in our motivation phase of media is launching right now. I'm hearing you're already seeing things at CVS. You're going to see it everywhere. So again, we have the out-of-home creative. We have our creative at our metro stations, our buses, and those are all in stations that are, again, primarily focused in African-American communities or other historically undercounted communities. We've also launched our Census Ambassador Program. And again, these are folks who are the on-the-ground messengers. These are the people who are faith-based leaders, educators, healthcare workers, the neighbor on the block that everyone knows and trusts. To date, we have trained over 1,100 residents to act as census ambassadors. This is how I think we will reach a full count in DC. It is really the work of those folks in the communities, the ones who are talking about it in healthcare clinics, what you hear from your teacher, what you hear from your pastor, saying it's safe, it's easy, and it matters. That is, like, those are our trusted messengers on the ground. Another aspect of our campaign that I'm very proud of is that we are one of the few jurisdictions to launch a grant program specifically to do a deeper dive into our historically undercounted communities. So last summer, through a competitive process, we created and awarded to 16 community-based organizations in DC funding to do nothing but census-focused work. And all of those grantees work only in historically undercounted communities, primarily in the African American community. And we have funded almost $900,000 toward those 16 grantees to do that kind of work, to develop those ambassador programs, and to be out there every day. Since last summer, through all of our partnerships, we've shared information at over 300 events. And again, we have 1,100 census ambassadors, and we are still in the process of training more ambassadors as we go through this process. Our projects have been diverse and creative. I think we want to always fundamentally meet people where they are. We know people have a lot of competing interests with their time. We don't try to create a lot of new events all the time. Where can we meet people where we are? One of the things we did last fall was we launched our Census Sabbath very early in the process. And we had 75 faith-based organizations participating in that. And all they did was just share information over the course of a weekend, either through services, handouts, social media, newsletters, about why the census matters. Again, we have been talking about it in every place that we can get census information. That's what we're doing. Another big campaign that we're launching this week is through all of our birthing hospitals and community clinics. Children's National Health Network is one of our biggest partners to help us reach children under 5. If you're going to give birth in a hospital in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to get a little bib that says, "I count too," and a reminder to count your babies. And we want to get that everywhere. So again, we're going to meet you where you are in the community, at your schools. We want you to know that this really impacts you. We have one of our working subcommittees is our East of the River subcommittee, which focuses primarily on African Americans, and that is led by Ashley Emerson, so she could probably answer questions about that later on. So we're not done. We're not even close to done. And, you know, like I said, we know it's a marathon. I sort of see the finish line ahead, but we are really excited to see all of this in action. Over the next week, we are finalizing an interactive map of what we call pop-up resource centers. We know people can get help and they can do their census online at a library, at home, over the phone, but some folks may need extra assistance who want to do it online. So we are creating what we call sort of a mobile resource tech pop-up center, and we want to do 45 in 45 days. We have 50 tablets, we have a mobile tech lab, and we will be putting that around the city, primarily, again, in our historically undercounted areas of the city, because we want no excuses to not complete your census. Our mayor will be hosting 4 block parties over 2 weekends, March 21st and the 28th, in, again, African American communities or other historically undercounted immigrant communities. And that's going to be like our big citywide launch. It's time to get counted. We're going to make it fun and easy, and then we'll be doing some bigger canvassing events on April 1st as well. But we are going to be pushing really hard all the way through to the very end. Again, we want every single person counted. That is a DC value to us. We want to know you're here, you belong here, and we want to make sure that you are counted. Thank you.
Prince George's County, over a year ago, began the process of creating our Complete Count Committee. We are very energized about the effort to implement this rigorous plan. Our Complete Count Committee is coordinated and housed under the leadership of our Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. Ms. Jackie Woody is here with us today as part of that leadership. Also under the coordinated leadership of our county executive, Angela Also Brooks, our Prince George's County Council, and our Office of Community Relations. Currently, this committee consists of over 100 members that crosses various sections of our community, has 13 targeted subcommittees. It's comprised of a cross-section of county agencies, nonprofits, civic and community groups, residents in our local municipalities, of which Prince George's County has 26. We have senior and education, university and colleges, our parks and recs, our business, as well as our unhoused populations, internationals and immigrants, and faith-based communities as well. To date, we've had well over 150 community events, and we kicked off with a block party hosted by our county executive at our local Dave & Buster's. We've had 2 hiring fairs, one led by the Training Source and another led by the Latin American Youth Center for bilingual workers. In terms of our immigrant and international communities, one of our partners, Casa de Maryland, has personally knocked on 4,000 doors, and we consider that to be a targeted community because of their hard-to-count area. Our municipalities serve as census hubs, and they have trained staff that are available to assist residents with responding. Our faith-based communities will be having a Sabbath weekend, March 27th through 29th. There'll be various activities and training and awareness at many of our houses of worship. Our libraries have designated computers and trained staff that are able to help with responses. 16 locations to be clear. Our parks and recs that also have laboratory computer labs also will have trained staff that can assist with registration. On March 25th, our county agencies will have a Take 10 activity to encourage the county employees to take some time to complete their census responses as well. Our courthouse will have census assistants and the kiosks to help those that are in the courthouse participate and respond as well. In March, we will be having senior census bingos at multiple senior centers and senior activity centers in the county. March 28th, we will have a March Madness block party at our Suitland Community Center, where we will encourage young people and their parents to participate and bring awareness and be counted. Our complete committee, again, is energized for a full and accurate and complete count so that our county can gain the resources and we continue to shape the future of our county in a positive fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille. And thank you, Melissa. The work that's being done in Prince George's County and Washington, D.C., respectively, is invaluable in order for us to get a complete and accurate count. I wanted to walk, now that you've bearing witness to a whole bunch of information about the 2020 Census campaign, I want to talk specifically to those that are in the room who are thinking about, now, what do I do? How do I cover? How do I report? How do I tell the story behind the numbers when it comes to the 2020 census? One thing I want to point you to, if you are not up to speed on the operational timeline, is that you need to understand that, and moreover, you need to know that we are not just hiring and recruiting people, but that we have a bunch of information. I'm going to actually go through, and I'm going to this first. In our newsroom on census.gov, we have an electronic press kit for the Black, African, and American audience. This press kit takes everything that's parsed out on the census.gov about this audience and puts it in one spot for you to hone in on the operational timeline, the fact that we're hiring, as well as I want to point out that when you navigate to census.gov's newsroom, you can opt in for updates for releases about the 2020 census. I represent or work with a whole host of public affairs specialists that manage the national relationships with media. And I wanted to just introduce today Julius Mina, who's in the audience. Julius is with our Philadelphia region. One of our regions, Philadelphia, covers the DMV, the DC, Maryland, and Virginia region. And he's able to make contact with people at the local level, whether you're a partner, whether you're media, but the national engagements, if you will, are done in the Public Information Office. I want to give you our email address. It's pio@census.gov, pio@census.gov. And I wanted to also whet your palate, if you will, about our response rate map, which just posted on Monday. over the weekend. This response rate map is now showing and displaying the 2010 census responses. On this map, you can actually navigate and look at it from a national perspective, then narrow down to the states, and then hone in on cities and even the county levels. I wanted to flag that as we head closer to the campaign on March 20th, this map is actually going to flip from 2010 census response rates to 2020 self-response rates, which will enable folks across the country in communities far and large, far and wide to see exactly how they're doing in the campaign. So in addition to another key thing to take note is that a lot of the resources and things that you've seen today, PSAs, there's fact sheets, data tools, stories that we post publicly that you can have access to, but then also talking to our subject matter experts is very important. So any opportunity that I have to talk to press and the media that's covering us, I want to please ask, if you are covering us, writing a story, have a question, ask. We'll get back to you. Because it's important that if you are writing a story about us, that we are in that story and helping message and give a response. We want to be open. We want to be responsive because at the end of the day, as stated earlier by, I believe it was Dale, or maybe it was all of us said it, all of the work that we do here today is to make and to encourage response to the 2020 census. So you can continue to join the conversation. You'll find us on all of these social media platforms at U.S. Census Bureau. And I'd like to encourage you after the Q&A today, if you haven't already, take a look at some of the things and displays that we have here for you directed at the Black African American community. It's very important, and it's very easy, and it's safe. So I thank you for your time, and I think I'm now going to turn it back over to Lauren, and we're going to get into some Q&A.
Thank you, Michael. Well, as you said, if you have a question, just ask it. So we're going to roll into our Q&A portion. If you could just raise your hand and say your name and what outlet you're from, then we have a wonderful panel of experts who can answer your questions. In the front, James.
Yes, I have two quick questions. One is for my former council member, Camille Exum, and the other is for Ms. Bird.
And please make sure you say your name and the outlet that you're representing as well.
Yes, James. Can you hear me?
Yes.
James Wright, Washington Informer. Ms. Exum, what strategies do you have to count inner beltway communities and municipalities? And Ms. Bird, Howard University has a number of course, a lot of students. Some of them are international and, of course, not from the district. Can those students fill out a census form here?
Is that on? Yes, thank you. First, as I said, Casa de Maryland, as well as a cross-section of volunteers and folks from county agencies have door-knocked personally several areas. There is I think on March 28th, they'll be doing some door-knocking in the 7th District, of which I formerly represented. So we'll be doing that as well, visiting the senior communities in those areas. And the Seat Pleasant, of course, is one of the municipality hubs that we have. So there will be opportunities for people to stop in there and have assistance with their responses, along with others, I'm sure. But I'm calling them out specifically because I know that's where you're from.
Hi, thank you. We have been working very closely with the Consortium of Universities, which represents all the universities in DC. We have tens of thousands of students living on and off campus in DC. So we know that is a really important group that we need to reach. As far as we always say, if you are living in DC, you need to be counted as a DC resident. Not where your parents live, but if you are a long-term resident living here, I think I would actually let the U.S. Census answer that question so that we can get like the very specific, because there are a lot of nuances to counting students. whether they're on campus or off campus, and also counting international residents, which we also have many of in DC. So I'm going to let a U.S. Census person answer that for you.
Thanks for that. One thing you want to make note of and recognize is that when we conduct the count, there's different policies and procedures pertaining to what we call residence rules. And we are basically, at the end of the day, as stated earlier, counting the resident population. And so we count people where they usually live and sleep. So college students, albeit they may be from another country, but if they are living in the United States and residing here for the balance of the year, where they most usually sleep, they are supposed to fill out the form at the location where they're residing. And the group quarters operation that we talked about earlier is the operation that actually administers those applications or those responses from those students. So yes, bar none, all students should be counted where they go to school.
Hi, my name is Casey Felton. I'm actually a student journalist from Howard University representing the Hilltop. And kind of as a follow-up question to that, can you all speak to specific programs or like strategies that you have for outreach with Howard University or maybe like HBCUs across the nation?
Okay, so we do have representation on our Complete Count Committee from Howard University. And so we have been meeting with them. They are also part of the consortium of universities. For Howard University, I believe what they have decided to do is try to do a group count. So students on campus will be considered counted through the university that way. And then how we can do more outreach with our groups of students who live off campus. We've done briefings with the School of Social Work at Howard. This was something that was very important to them. They really look at it as like a social equity issue and the outreach that they're going to be doing. But I'm really glad you're in the room because I think the voices should come from the students of Howard to share that information about why this matters so much and how it impacts students. So I'd be happy to meet with you one-on-one, or you can talk to Director Emerson behind you from our office about how important this is, because I think this comes back to who is the trusted messenger in the community. So I think Howard students talking to other Howard students is the best way to deliver that message. I think that's even more impactful than perhaps the president of a university sometimes delivering that message.
Exactly what Melissa said. We talk about it's important that students are the trusted voice. The Census Bureau has certainly kicked off a number of school initiatives, and the Higher Education Initiative is one of them, where with our partnership specialists, we've visited universities and colleges across the country talking about the census, even as partnership specialists. And students can have jobs with the Census Bureau as well. We are hiring because you are that trusted voice. You're that person that, as Melissa mentioned, will communicate with your fellow students on the importance of the census.
And I just wanted to quickly add that Team Y&R is working with the Census Bureau on what's called the abatement competition, and it's run by PRSSA, and I know Howard University has a strong communications and PR program. And as a part of that, students are developing their own communications plans for how to encourage the count and how to get the message out. So this has been a couple month long of a competition that will be culminating in the next couple of months, where they will be presenting some of their engagement strategies. So they've been working together, like we said, as a trusted voice, coming up with their own outreach plans. And then we will be talking about that in the next couple of weeks. So they're already spreading the message amongst themselves. And as a part of that, we have whole lists with student journalists where we're doing targeted outreach. Just to them, we have fact sheets just about counting college students that are on our newsroom that we talked about here in 2020 census.gov. So there's even more materials targeted just to specific audiences. So I just wanted to make sure we added that in there as well. Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Berry in the back.
Hi, I'm Deborah Berry with USA Today. Could you update us on where you are in the job recruitment campaign and effort, and what are the challenges, if there are any particular, in hard-to-count communities?
We're doing very well in our recruiting efforts. We've set specific goals and we've come very close to meeting those goals on a national level in terms of the number of people we think we need to hire to get the census done. But of course, there are pockets within areas of this country where we will continue to recruit. And as we execute the data collection process and the non-response follow-up, we know that there will be folks that will fall out along the way. So that's one of the reasons we are continuing our recruiting efforts through the 2020 census. Does that answer your question? We are, based on our the self-response rate, I'd say we are looking at perhaps 500,000 or 500,000 people that we actually need to conduct the census, and that's based on how well the self-response rate comes in. Of course, a higher self-response rate, more people that are responding online or by phone or by mail on their own, less necessary census takers that we need, but we want to prepare for whatever the situation may be, and we're estimating that approximately 500,000 that we need, yes. Well, in order to hire that number, we need to recruit over 2 million people, and currently we have close to, well over 2 million applicants that have applied for positions across the country, and that's nationally.
And either Michael or Robert in the back can follow up with you with specific numbers, because those numbers, as Dale knows, is changing every day, and so we'll make sure to follow up with those numbers for you. Oh, I'm sorry, Michael?
If I could just pivot a little bit. If you don't know, we have started posting, like we did in the 2010 census, the weekly numbers for the part-time census takers or census employees, 2020 census employees that are being paid by week. So today is Tuesday. So today there will be a new release in the newsroom on census.gov that'll show the most recent pay period where we have posted by region. So you'll have all 6 regions, plus you'll have the national total of paid census employees, part-time census employees, as well as a breakout for Puerto Rico. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that, and it's right on our homepage at census.gov. It should have went up at 10 o'clock, and I didn't look, but it's probably there.
And let me just add to that number, because starting at the end of this week or Saturday is when we start our selection process for the non-response follow-up or the census takers, and that's where the big number is going to be. And when I talk about the 500,000, that's the number I'm referring to, the actual census takers. I mean, we hire many more people that cover 6 regional census centers and 248 area census offices. So over the next several weeks, you're going to see the number that Michael refers to quickly jump, because we're bringing in those folks that will be the actual census takers.
Do we have any more questions? No? Okay, well, that wraps up our briefing today. I'd like to thank all of our speakers for being here today, and of course, thank you for coming. If you have any follow-up questions, Robert in the back, if you wave your hand, can help you with those interviews, and have a wonderful day. Thank you again so much.